drive it hard.
Vince from Team 2 Legit to Crit. Gonna bring you updated Erad profile, the newest build post set 14. Obviously still playing Linshu as your starter, just because Linshu puts pressure on everybody.
Starter that wrecks.
3 Ignition Dragon, 10 times better of a break ride than Vowing Sword. Vowing Sword you get to pick. This is you CB1 when you ride, you're plus 10. Your opponent picks 2 to die. This just makes Erad so much more powerful and gives them the pressure that they originally had as a deck to retire, but then everything else started getting beefed up too, so it was hard to keep up. It's plus 2 when it swings as if you have more rear guards than your opponent, which is probably the worst one out of all of them. 3 Tempest Bolt. This card lets you change up your deck a little bit, just because his Limit Break retires both players' fields, and it's a special, so you do have to have the Erad cards. But otherwise, it's just plus 2 for every open circle passive, which makes him a really heavy hitter really early game for no reason. So it gives you a lot of pressure back to the deck. And overall, it makes your opponent commit to the field, and then you get to kill the field and make them have to recommit, which slaughters their hand.
No Battle Sisters.
2 Descendants round out grade 3s because if you break ride with Tempest Bolt, this is a CB1, he's a CB3, you still have 1 left over, and you can still just ride into this after you, even if you don't use his skill, his pressure for all the big numbers, they just take it every time. If they go to 5 damage, you can ride him for final turn because Descendant's a really good card and you pretty much have to play it. Grade 2s, 3's Wheaton. I would like to play 4, but I don't really have room for the 4th one because otherwise it's a great card. It's the Soul Charge on flip. The Soul Charge is mandatory, so if it hits on rearguard and you don't have any damage to flip up, you just Soul Charge, which is kind of sucky, but amazing card, 9k. All my grade 1s are 7ks, so it hits 16s and it hits the damage flips. And it lets you break ride and do ignition more. 3 Thunderboom, because riding into 10ks is amazing, and on the rearguard it's still a nice number just to be there for everyone else's 9k rearguards. Only 3 Spark Rain, just because I don't have 4. I'm not trading for the 4th. 3 works for me. I don't need to worry about it. Plus, if I had to play a 4th, I would have to worry about the other numbers or the other grade 2s I would have to swap around, because I still like playing 3 Thunderboom. And 2 of the new guy, Lorenz Force. He's a good card if you ride early, and it makes your opponent target him for an attack. If you really, really need the skill to go off, you can always just set him in your back row so your opponent can't attack it. When you ride a grade 3 Eradicator, you can CB1, they have to pick a unit to retire. It kills starters, it'll kill interceptors if they already use the starter skill. Otherwise, it's a solid card, it's a 9k. And even late game, it still has some pressure if I have a lot of CB left. Grade 1s, still playing 4 10k attacker. 2 caster, which is the discard draw if your opponent has 2 or less rearguards. So early game, it's really good. Late game, it's just kind of a 7k. And 2 Shuki. You don't really retire and get his skill for the plus 3 off too often unless you break ride or you're riding with Lawrence Force on the rear guard. But otherwise, he's still a solid 7k, and it's a nice tech to run because if you do retire, becoming a 10k booster for a rear guard column is really good. 4 perfect guards, because decks are ridiculous now, and the quintet wall for this doesn't come out till 16 or 17?
16.
16. And the other grade 1, I'm actually playing Rising Phoenix now. I know people were playing Rising Phoenix and or Dragonic Death Scythe in the old Descendant Gauntlet builds or whatever, but because Gauntlet was in a special counterblast and Descendant's in a special counterblast and discard, I really didn't like playing Rising Phoenix. Tempest Bolt may be in a special counterblast, but Ignition Dragon isn't, and Descendant might be. But the damage on flip is... It helps you, like, the break ride isn't, so you can always flip him down. You don't have to flip him up, damage on flip and all that. But you really do need the draw in this deck, because now with Ignition putting on the pressure, you don't really need as many big numbers to hit on the rear guards. Your rear guards aren't really as important as they need to be, just because of the power of the break, or because of the power of Ignition Dragon, or Tempest Bolt, sorry. They have to waste a lot of cards to guard the Vanguard if they can, and then the rear guards are just kind of there to put more pressure. But 2 Rising Phoenix has worked. There have been so many situations where I will call 1, draw, Tempest Bolt, wipe the field, and then call the other to draw again. So it's a nice 5k booster behind the Vanguard to hit 16s.
It only sucks because you can't discard it with Descendant.
Yeah, and you can't discard it with Descendant, which is okay, because if I have this in hand, I'm just going to call it and draw anyway, so Descendant, it's Descendant fodder anyways. You alright there?
No, my nose itches.
Oh, well, I can't fix that. Or I won't, rather. 6 crit,
Meanie.
6 draw. I'm switching back to the 6/6 because the only reason I was playing 8 crit for Gauntlet Descendant was your rear guards really needed to become pressure because the Vanguard really didn't do much if they had the perfect guards for it, and Gauntlet's +3 and a crit was pressure because of the crit, but a 10-5 would guard for usually no pass unless you had a good booster behind it. So the rear guards really needed to get that extra power and crit from the triggers. Now with Tempest Bolt hitting such big numbers, you really need to just keep your hand up in this deck and play against whatever competitively, and for heal rounding it out. I like playing 3-3-3-3 because it looks good, just aesthetically. Otherwise, Ignition Dragon really gave this deck the boost it needs, and it's probably one of my favorite Eradicator cards, period, now. I wasn't gonna play Tempest Bolt when they first showed it in the anime, but when I realized that his skill during your turn, this is +2 for every open circle, once I found out that was just a passive skill, not Limit Break, I realized this card is a really, really good pressure card, so it's always worth playing pressure early game, because that's what this deck is meant to do, is give pressure, especially with retiring rear guards. I think I wanted to say something else. Oh yeah, his ability. If a unit is locked, he does not get power for that circle, because the locked unit is stuck in the circle, and that circle ceases to exist, so he does not get power. It's not open, it's a locked circle. A lot of people have been saying that he gets +2 for locked circles, so if you play against Chaos Breaker, your field, even if it's locked, he'll get power from it, and you can retire the field. And your units will stay, but it still wouldn't matter. He doesn't get the power from it, so any locked cards he does not get power from. Alright, so that's the deck profile. Guys, you can remember to rate, favorite, comment, like, subscribe. I'm sure we're going to have some matches up with this eventually, and we'll see you guys next video. Later.
Bye.